all. I, Mrs. A.K. Salunkhe, Assistant Professor, Satara College of Pharmacy, Satara, and Chairman of this session, welcome you all. A good plan is like a roadmap. It shows the final destination and usually the best way to get there. As we all are having NAC as a final destination, and to set a good plan, today we are having eminent speaker with us, Dr. B.W. Tekade sir. He is professor and head, Department of Pharmaceutics, Konkan Gyanpith, Rahul Dharkar College of Pharmacy and Research Institute, Karjat. His topic for today's session is Roadmap for Accreditation Process. Welcome, sir, for this session.
Thank you, ma'am.
To introduce Dr. B.W. Tekade, sir, I would like to hand over mic to my colleague and co-chairman of this session, Mr. A.S. Bhosle, sir. Over to Bhosle, sir.
Thank you, Salunkhe, ma'am. Good afternoon to all of. First of all, I am thankful to the organizer for giving me an opportunity to introduce today's resource person. Today we have with Dr. Tekade, sir. Presently, he is working as a professor at Konkan Gyanpith, Rahul Dharkar College of Pharmacy and Research Institute, Karjat. He has around 18 years of academic experience. He is guided 55 MPharm students. He had received many research grants under various schemes from North Maharashtra University, Jaigaon. He has published 55 national and 32 international research articles. He is working as IQAC as well as NAC coordinator. Also, the member of College Development Committee of his institute. He is a life member of professional bodies like APTI, IPA. He works as a member of Board of Studies for North Maharashtra University, Jaigaon. So today, Dr. Tekade sir with us to talk on topic roadmap for accreditation process. So with this brief introduction, on behalf of organizer, I requesting to Dr. Tekade sir, please start the session, sir. Please.
Okay. Thank you, sir, for my introduction. So I will start with my presentation. Just a minute. Share screen. So, screen is visible to you, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, visible.
Okay. So, everyone here who are attending this seminar or this webinar FDP organized by Satara College. So, it is for the NAC accreditation or accreditation purpose. So, many of you will go for the accreditation that like NAC or NBA. So, basically, what is accreditation? So it is a formal recognition of a quality of an educational through impartial assessment by an external independent agency. That means what? Independent agency means what? It doesn't have to do anything with the government agencies. This is the private agency designed with the help of AICTE, UGC, and accordingly they assess the institution on a fixed criteria. So why we go for the accreditation? So it helps the institution to know strength, weakness, opportunities and challenges. So this institution, whenever, even in our day-to-day life, if we know our strength, we can work properly. Even if we know the weaknesses, then we can try to overcome the weaknesses with our strengths. So being a pharmacy colleges, what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses, and what are the upcoming opportunities are there in the college, that should be known to each and every stakeholder of the institution. So in general, what we are just working regularly, we have just come to the college, complete our workload, but we are not aware with our strengths, weakness and opportunities, and even the challenges which we have to face. So during this NAC process, what we come to know about our strength, weakness, opportunities and challenges, but not this is the opportunity. This is not the SOC analysis of an individual. This is the SOC analysis of a college or institution. That means what? It is a SOC analysis of a team that is going for the accreditation. So institution is nothing but it is a team of a people who are working for the same goal, isn't it? So that means what? Through NAC, we are getting more powerful in all the sectors. So in this NAC, what we initiate the innovative modern methods of teaching and evaluation. So now this is the era of ICT tools. That means we are using the internet, we are using the technology everywhere. But teaching is the field where the technology is used very less. Even nowadays, many of the institutions are using chalk and board methods. So this chalk and board methods, no doubt, this one is good. But nowadays, what technology is there? So many a times, what the outsourcing or we can say that the students can learn anytime, anywhere. So this concept is initiated through this accreditation process. So it gives an identity to the institution at a national level. Once the institution is get accredited, that means what? Your identification or the institution is known to at the national level. Then it provides society. All the society becomes aware with the reliable information on quality of education offered by an institution. Otherwise, what happens? On what basis the student should take admission in your institution? So for that purpose, nowadays, up till now, what we are going to for the pharmacy institutions are going for the AICTE and PCI and university affiliations. So apart from that, what extraordinary things which we have that should be known to the nearby society. So when nearby society comes to know, but this is not the advertisement. What? In advertisement, many of the claims are false or they are misleading. Yes. But when we go for the accreditation and whatever the information that goes to the society, that is a authenticate information, then by using this NAC accreditation, the funding agencies, government funding agencies are there like AICTE, DST, DPT, and lot many are there. By like all these, that they prefer to give or to sanction the grants to such an institution which is been accredited by either NAC or by NBA. So intra and inter-institutional interaction are get increased. That means what? In general, when we are working at normal stage without accreditation, or in that case, what we just go and we are interacting with the people who are in our department or who sits side by side. Otherwise, most of the people shall remain uninteracted. That means the views regarding the development of institutions are quite unaware. We are unaware with the views of other peoples. So due to this accreditation, we are involving each and every stakeholder of the institution, whether they are the pew, teaching staff, non-teaching staff, technical staff, students, parents, alumni, what they feel, how the college should grow. That comes through this accreditation process. So accreditation process means what? We have to either go for the NAC or NBA. First, we should know what is NAC and what is NBA. So NAC is what? Institutional accreditation. That means it is the evaluation of overall institutional quality, but it does not focus on an individual academic program. That means what? If we are running a pharmacy college, that means UG college, even in PG college, like in engineering, departments are not so separated. So in PG college, there may be a department like pharmaceutics, pharmacognosy, pharmaceutical chemistry, pharmaceutical analysis, and different departments. But these are what? Minor departments that are PG departments, not the UG departments. So in such cases, we should go for the NAC. And when we should go for the NBA, when we are having the different departments, that means a single department can be accredited with the help of NBA. But for pharmacy institutions, NAC is best suited program of accreditation. So basically this accreditation is what? It is a certification of a quality for a fixed period of time. Like AICTE PCI, they gives us a affiliation or approval for a particular period. For the AICTE, we have to apply yearly. For PCI, for a stipulated period, that means for 2 years, 3 years, and for new institution, it is yearly. and then UGC affiliations through the university, that is local inspection committee will visit to the institution and they will give affiliation yearly. So like that, it has a fixed period, but NAC gives the accreditation or gives a certification for 5 years, and NBA gives for 3 years and 5 years. So for NBA 3 years and 5 years means what? It is depending on a score which the institution scores. So basically NAC evaluates the institution for its conformance to the standards of quality in terms of performance related to the educational process and outcomes, curriculum coverage, teaching learning process, faculty, research, infrastructure, learning resources, organization, governance, financial, well-being, and student services. That means it evaluates everything. It evaluates everything which we want, right from the teaching and learning process up to the infrastructure and what we are providing to the students, and that is more important. Basically, why we should go for the accreditation? Now this is the era where students are the basic students are at the center of all this system. So when we are working in a normal institution, in that case, what principal works for what? For the students. Office staff or administrative staff works for whom? Again, for the students. Teaching, non-teaching, technical staff, peons, everyone is working for the one sec.
Hello, sir.
Huh?
Your slides are not changing, sir.
Not changing?
Yes. Now you are on the slide.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Now on the slide.
Just start slide show.
Yes, I had started and I had to scroll it. Now?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Sorry.
Sorry. Okay. Yes.
Slideshow is not there.
Now is it there?
Yes, sir. Sure.
Okay. So shall I repeat all these things again?
No, sir, you can continue, sir.
Okay. So in short, I will brief everything again. So what is accreditation? This is a recognition by the third party, which doesn't have to do anything with the governing bodies. Governing bodies means like AICTE, PCI, UGC through the university, isn't it? It is a totally third party agency. Then why we go for the accreditation? To analyze the SOC analysis. SOC analysis means what? It is to know about the strength, weakness, opportunities, and challenges. So by using this strength, weakness, and opportunities, we can grow properly in a right direction. So in the era of technology, we have to initiate the modern tools of teaching and evaluation. So apart from the chalk and board method, we have to utilize the modern technology for teaching and learning process. So for that purpose, the students can learn anywhere, anytime. Then by this accreditation, the institute is get identified at a national level. Then it provides the proper authenticate information to the society what type of education is offered by the institution. Then by accreditation, the funding agencies are get attracted towards the institution. That means what? They facilitates or they sanctions the grants to such accredited institution. Then intra and inter-institutional interactions are more flourish. That means what? Generally, the people who are working in the same institutes, even many times it happens that we are not talking with some people even a week or month. But due to this accreditation process, we are always in a position, or we are always need interaction with each and every stakeholder of the institution. So accreditation is done by NAC or NBA. So when we have to evaluate the whole institution, irrespective of any department, in that case we should go for the NAC. Even we can go for the NBA in that case, but what NBA is better for the institutions which are having the different departments. So in pharma institutions, majorly the departments which are available, that are PG departments, not the UG departments. So basically, when we have to go for the NBA, in that case, it is better for the engineering. If any one of the department is doing very well, in that case, we can start the NBA accreditation. Even NBA accreditation can be, where the pharma institutions can go for the NBA accreditation also. then accreditation certification is for the fixed period of time. So when we say that it is for the fixed period of time, that means what? Even no accreditation is there for lifetime. So we have to specify, or we should know the specific period of accreditation. So NAC certifies you for the year of 5 years tenure. So when we say that it is year of 5, but grading is there, like A plus, B, A, B, and B plus. Likewise, different grades are given by the NAC on the basis of score which the institute scores. And NBA is given for the 3 and 5 years on the basis of scores that the institution has scored. So when we say that accreditation, basically this accreditation process evaluates each and everything of the institution. So when we are running a institution, any educational institution, so the center of education institution is what? It is a student. So the students, everyone who are involved in the institution, they are engaged for the development or betterment of the students. So it is a student-centric accreditation. So basic 4 pillars which heads or which works for the betterment of students, that are management, teaching staff, non-teaching, supporting staff, then administrative staff. So basically all these, they are working for the betterment of students. But in case of non-accredited institutions, what happen when we go for the betterment of students by using all these, but the coordination between all the 4 pillars should be there, isn't it? But when we go for the accreditation, in that case, all these 4 pillars, they interact with each other. They will try to understand the problems of each and every sector, each and every pillar, and for the betterment of students, and resolution of problem is possible. Resolution of it's possible. One sec, sir. Some problem is there.
Hello, sir. Tekade, sir.
Hello.
Tekade, sir. You are.
Again, slides are get stuck.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes, I think that when I start the slide show, in that case they get stuck. Even now the slides are get stuck. Why?
Slide shows are not working, sir.
Okay. 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 So I think there is some problem with this slideshow. I'm changing slide at my end, but that doesn't get changed.
Okay, sir. Continue, please.
Okay, okay. Sir. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes.
I'm just forwarding my slides or changing my slides, but that doesn't get changed at your end.
Okay, sir. No problem, sir. Just
So
you
I
click
escape.
from left side, sir. You go to the slide share. Yes.
Yes,
please.
yes.
Yes. Okay. No problem, sir.
Okay. Slides are not changing on YouTube, sir. Why? One sec, sir. I will again try something.
Sir, just close the presentation and restart the presentation.
Restart. Okay, okay, okay. establishment of IQAC. So establishment of IQAC by an institution is the first step towards the accreditation through planning and implementing enhancement initiatives. So when we say that, basically this accreditation, why we are going for the accreditation? For the better planning and its implementation. For what? For better quality of education. So how this IQAC is formed? So for this IQAC, the chairperson, that is obviously the head of institution, must be there. Then teachers to represents all levels. That means all the teachers, if you are having the different departments, then all representative from all the departments like HOD, then the senior faculties, some junior faculties should be there. 3 to 8 faculties should be there. Then one member from the management, because what if we say that all the work is to be done by the teaching staff, non-teaching staff and college staff, but what for certain decision making the management representative must be there, then few senior administrative officers, then one nominee from each local society, students and alumni. Local society is for what? The local society member will impart his views regarding the institution, what the impression its institution is having in a society, that can be come to know by this local society. Then students, they will suggest about the present problems, present scenario of institutions. So and alumni, they will forecast where should be the college after 5 years, 10 years. Then one nominee each from employer, industrialist and stakeholders. So employer means what? Any employer from the area. Then industrialist, that means that is most important for pharma institutions, because nowadays the industry needs are changing, and to meet these industrial needs we should be aware with the industrialist what are the needs of these industries. So basically what the pharma institutions or in any pharma institutions, what we are teaching the students, the textbook, the books which we are having, and these books are written in or they are not, I think they are not that much updated to meet the present needs of industries. So for that purpose, this industrialist must be there. Then one of the senior teacher as a coordinator, director of the NAC, of the IQAC. So why senior? Because in IQAC or as a NAC coordinator, he has played a most crucial role, because he has to arrange everything in the for the NAC. He has to arrange everything for the NAC. That means what? He has to start with the formation of IQAC. He has to do the IIQF filing, then SSR filing, then peer team visit. Everything he has to look after. Even that the IQAC has to do everything happening in the group to this. And if he is a senior person, then it is better that everyone should respect him in all sense, and everyone should listen to him what he is instructing. Then role of IQAC. Why we need this IQAC? IQAC means what? Internal Quality Assurance Cell. So this IQAC needed to develop and apply the quality benchmarks. So quality benchmarks means what? A simple example is what? Quality benchmarks. We are dealing with the, so everyone, we are going for the NAC for the very first time. In that case, the benchmarks, we analyze them in terms of results of the students. So when we have to analyze the students in terms of results, in that case, the benchmark, generally the university provides us certain passing marks, isn't it? First class, distinction marks. So if the passing marks is 40%, then the benchmark should be 45 marks. That means no one student should get the marks below 45%. So that means what? It is somewhat stringent with compared to the norms given by the university or the governing body. So for example, what in pharma institution, generally what we say that the simple complex tablet should get disintegrated within 15 minutes as per IP. But what happens when we go to the industry? In that case, the industry person never says that it should take up to 15 minutes. What they said that it should get disintegrated within 15 minutes. That means 1 minute is sufficient, 2 minutes is sufficient, 5 minutes is sufficient. So why we should should from the governing bodies, that should be applied by the institutions, but that should not be so stringent that all the students get hampered, or the teaching staff and working people should get hampered with these benchmarks. Then parameters for various academic and administrative activities of the institutions. Then facilitating the creation of a learner-centric environment conducive to quality education, faculty maturation to adopt the required knowledge and technology for participatory teaching and learning process. That means what? Everyone, even this is the learner-centric, that means what? Student-centric environment, how one can provide the student-centric environment in an institution. So many a times what we observe that the students, they come to the college, but they are not get interest into the teaching and learning process. So how one can create this learner centric environment into the institutions? So for that purpose, what type of novelty we are giving to the students, what type of novel teaching tools we are using, and what we should use, that should be decided by the IQAC. So for that purpose, faculty should get should be adaptive for this new technology. Like someone is better in teaching and teaching in that case, but he is not aware with the technology, then someone should get coupled with the person who is better teacher and should use or ask him to use or teach him to how to use these new technologies of teaching and learning process. Like nowadays, due to this lockdown, everyone is quite aware with the technology, but this is not sufficient. So whenever we are using the interactive boards, so with the help of interactive boards, the present scenario in a market or present scenario of a subject can be shown to the people in a classroom. And apart from classroom, how one can reach to the students, like the YouTube, you can make the YouTube channels, you can upload your video, teaching videos, lecture videos on that. So this process should be adopted by the IQAC, and they should percolate to the students and the faculties. Then collection and analysis of a feedback from all the stakeholders on quality related institutional process. So basically, generally, we are taking feedbacks from the various stakeholders regularly. On regular basis, we are taking this feedback from the students. Student centric, that means it is a major part. So we always, even semester wise, we take the feedback. Even annually, we take the feedback on different things regarding the teaching of teaching process, then the facilities available in the institution. Now, when we go for the NAC, in that case, all the stakeholders, right from the teaching, non-teaching, management, principal, everyone has to submit his feedback. And on the basis of that feedback, we come to know what is happening in our institute. That means some people, they are not ready to talk directly with the superiors. So in that case, they can write. So this type of facility should be provided by the institution. Or students who are not who can analyze but not able to speak, in that way they can write into the feedback form that which type of facilities they require more, isn't it? So feedback is a system by which we can improve the quality of education. So many a times what many institutions uses this feedback for the other way. That means some teachers, they are scoring low marks, that means they will show the memo, anything, but this is not the purpose of this IQAC. It is for the betterment of student, to improve the quality of teacher and thereby the students and by the institutions. Then dissemination of information on various quality parameters to all the stakeholders. So whatever we are doing for the betterment of students, for the betterment of teaching, non-teaching, every stakeholders, that should be known to all the stakeholders. Otherwise, what happens in non-accredited institutions, one person takes the decisions and everyone has to follow. They never bother about whether these people are accepting these or not, they are willingful, or they have never considered their thoughts or views on the decision. But in accreditation, what all this should be come together, and a solution on the all problems is to be obtained. Then organization of inter and intra-institutional workshops, seminars on quality related themes, and promotion of quality circles. So many of the institutions, they are having very good quality type of educations. They provide the training, workshops, seminars for the teaching faculties to conduct at their own, and they go at the site where whenever we require we can call them. So such type of quality initiatives are to be organized by this IQAC. Then documentation of various programs, activities leading to the quality improvement. That means what? We are doing everything. We are incubating the first year students. We are conducting the seminars, we are conducting the gatherings, so annual social gatherings, sports events. We are conducting lots of awareness program in the society. Being a pharmacy institution, we generally conduct this health awareness program, health checkup camps in nearby areas. But we are not documenting anything. So documentation is most important, much important in accreditation. So due to this documentation process, what happens? What you had done, that comes to you, and in what sense you can improve that things which we have done in past. So this will give a better thinking, betterment of a programs to be conducted. And when we go for the documentation of each and everything, in that case traceability of the documents is very easy. That means what? If the institute is run since last 10 years, and if anyone asks that before 5 years what you have done, so nobody is able to answer. But when we go for the accreditation process, in that case all these documents are to be spared, they are to be stored properly, they are managed properly, and so that one can easily identify that in this before 5 years we are having this status, we are having this much admissions, we have conducted this much programs regarding the guest lectures, regarding the personality development, regarding campus interview, and all these things. That means what? Everything should be known to the IQAC, and this is the basic role of IQAC, that everything has to manage it through the IQAC. Then acting as a nodal agency of agency of and dissemination of the best practices. So for teaching learning, the best practice which we apply. Apart from that, for the society, what type of best practices we are going to apply? So in NAC, not only the teaching and learning, but what one can give to the society, that is again important. So what type of best practices we are conducting for the students as well as for the society, that is important. And for the same, this IQAC will act as a nodal agency. The development and maintenance of an institutional database through MIS for the purpose of maintaining, enhancing, and institutional quality. So maintenance of institutional database. That means what? Generally, when we come to this database handling, in that case, we are dealing with the exam data, library data, or financial data. But what about the other things which are happening in the institutions? Many things we are doing in the institution. But many times, due to this NAC, that data has to be collected, that has to be stored and maintained for a longer period of time. So one can easily identify the strength, weaknesses, and opportunities. And with these weaknesses, how one can overcome with the help of strength, how one can help this weakness. That is important. So by maintaining this data, we can overcome the weaknesses. Even we can face the challenges, we can prepare ourselves for the challenges. Then periodic conduct of academic and administrative audit and its follow. So academic and administrative audit, so when we say that it is the administrative audit, in that case most of the part goes to the financial part, so that is different concept again. Then academic audit means what when we are conducting everything in an institution, that means what? We are conducting regular practicals, regular theory classes. Apart from that, we are conducting many things like extra lectures for the slow learner, for advanced learner. What type of programs we are conducting for the advanced learner, that is much important. So when we are saying that these programs are conducted, but academic audit indicates what type of work you have conducted, what type of consumable items you required. That means, in short, we can control the inventory through these academic audits. Even hello, hello. Okay. So this academic audit is much important, because due to this academic audit, the teaching learning process is evaluated. Then the laboratory staff is get stuck with their laboratories. That means what they had conducted, what type of practicals has been conducted, how much chemical is required, and everything glassware requirements is to be analyzed through this academic audit. Then preparation and submission of annual quality. So by doing all these things, the IQAC coordinator come to know the annual quality report. He generates the annual quality report. Annual quality report means what? Annual quality report means what? What we had done throughout the year for the quality initiative. Then AQR, preparation of AQR as per the guidelines of NAC. So this annual quality report, once we go for the NAC and we got the NAC accreditation, in that case, this every year we have to file this AQAR, that is annual quality assurance report. And for that purpose, the above all things are required. So this is the role of IQAC. So when we have to start with the NAC, we start with the IQAC. Again, this IQAC and other governing bodies, that is College Development Committee, all the stakeholders are involved in a vision, in a formation of vision statement. So vision is what? So when we go for the NAC accreditation, one phase is what? Formation of IQAC. Then formation of mission and vision statement. So vision is what? Vision is a futuristic statement that the institution would like to achieve over a long period of time. That means what? Generally, when we face the interviews, in that case, the interviewer asks us, after 5 years, where you want to be? That is what? That indicates the vision of a candidate. Now here we have to explain our vision. After 5 years, where the institutes want to go, where the institute see them after 5 years. This is what? The futuristic statement, that is called as the vision. And vision is to achieve this vision, we need certain missions. That means what? This vision is categorized into a different statements. So these statements should be always aligned with the vision. That means, for example, vision to create a competent pharmacy professional through a quality education. That means what? At the first stage, you can design your vision like this: to create a competent pharmacy professional through a quality education. Now, how one can create this competent pharmacy professional through quality education? By providing good governance, best teaching and learning practice, nurturing the competent pharmacy professional for industry, academia and research, contributing in healthcare to ensure well-being of mankind. That means what our vision is what? To create a competent pharmacy professionals through a quality education. That means what? We are not saying that we have to create the B Pharma and M Pharma students. We are saying that we have to create the pharmacy professionals which are competent in themselves. So these all should rely, or this should be correlated easily, or we can analyze them with a statement of vision. So in such a manner, the vision and mission is to be established. After that, these POs. So before going for the accreditation, we should be ready with all these things. So program educational objective. Program educational objectives are based on the statement that describes the career and professional accomplishment that the programs is preparing the graduate to achieve. That means why we are running this program. What is the purpose of this program? That means if we are continuing the B Pharma education, in that case, what is the purpose of this B Pharma? So that is must known to each and every stakeholder, again PEOs, and particularly to the teaching, non-teaching, that is laboratory staff as well as the students. So guidelines for the PEOs are what? PEOs should be consistent with the mission of the institution. That means what? Program education, what we have said in earlier slide, that is the providing good governance, best teaching and learning practice, nurturing competent pharmacy professional for industry, academia and research, contributing in healthcare to ensure well-being of the mankind. That means what? To achieve this mission, what we can give to the students. The vision is what? To create a competent pharmacy professionals. Then mission is what? Through what we are going to achieve missions, that is what, and how this mission is achieved, that is what program educational outcomes. So this PO should be achievable by the program. The PO should be program specific. If we are conducting a BPharm and we are talking about anything else, like the student should be able to go for the IS examination and all these things. Okay, it is a personal benefit to the students if he is having interest, but that should not be irrelevant. Then PO should be based on the needs of the program. Again, what we are framing while we are teaching the BPharma or we are creating the BPharma professionals. So for that purpose, these are based on the needs of a program. Then POs demonstrate what? This program educational outcomes, they demonstrate what? The employment or higher studies. That means what? When the student comes to you for the BPharma degree, in that case, after that, what happens with the student regarding their employment or higher studies, their knowledge, their multi-dimensional thinking. That means what? We are not saying that the student, once he get the degree of BPharma, he should be employable or he should go for the studies. He can be an entrepreneur. He can go for the different areas like a social work. He can be entrepreneur. He can go for the other competitive examination like UPSC, MPSC, and other competitive examination. Then professionalism. So professionalism, this is a very vague word, but here it comes to a ethics. Ethics of policies. Then environment. So environment means what? It is not the environment that we are talking about, that air pollution, all this, but what type of environment he can provide to the society. Then this PO, how one can achieve this PO? By placement, then results, higher studies, admission to the higher studies, projects and research, then extension activities and co-curricular activities. That means what? Basically, this program educational outcomes that are not only related with the curriculum or syllabus, that are again related to the extracurricular activities, extension activities that has been conducted by the institution. Then research, projects and research. So now in this PCI syllabus, I think the students has been the degree students has been assigned a projects, minor projects that has been funded by the institution itself. And research, if you are having a PG or PhD facility at your institution, then it is good. For that purpose, the research activities can be facilitated in our group very well. So research facility, how one can obtain the research grants, research collaboration with the industries, that is more important. So for that purpose, you need the MOUs. If you are having the research collaboration with the industries, the LAHU, or we can say that the current MOUs with you. So program outcomes. So program educational outcome is different and program outcomes are different. So program outcomes are given by the accreditation bodies, NBA and NAAC both. So 11 program outcomes are given. So planning ability, subject knowledge, problem analysis, modern tool usage, leadership, professional identity, pharmaceutical ethics, then communication, pharmacist and society, environmental and sustainability, lifelong learning. So all these elements we have to correlate with the PO and PO with the PSO. So that is again a different part. But when we talk about all these things, all 11 POs, in that case, first 4 that are comply with the curriculum design, that is planning abilities, subject knowledge, problem analysis, modern tool usage. So when we say that about this planning ability, that means what? How the students can be imparted with the planning abilities. We are conducting the practicals. So within a given stipulated time period, they have to plan everything. Even the project reports, projects are given to the BPharma students for a short period of time. So how they can go for the planning of that research work projects for that much shorter time? Then subject knowledge, obviously syllabus is enriched with the subject knowledge. Then problem analysis. So problem analysis is what? It is particularly related with the practicals which they are doing, or they are performing in the laboratories, or projects they are performing, or the subject related problems. That means if they are not going to understand anything, then how these problems can be overcome, all these, and how to identify the problem, that is more important. Then modern tool usage. So modern tool usage means what? Everything now a technology is there. So how technocrat, a student should be a technocrat, and for that purpose a teacher should be a technocrat, otherwise it is not possible. So modern usage, modern tool usage, that means for teaching, if we say that they should be able to use the modern ICT tools for teaching and learning process, and students should be able to grasp through these modern tools usage. They should be able to perform with the help of these ICT tools. Then leadership skills, professional identity. So leadership skill generally it is imparted in the students through the extracurricular activities which are conducted by the institutions. Then professional identity, so being a pharmacist, how one can go, how one can identify you, that means what what type of programs are conducted by the institution, by the for the society. This gives you a professional identity, and again this professional identity somewhat depend upon the knowledge of a student. Then pharmaceutical ethics, then communication. So being a pharmacist, you should have a good communication with the society people. So if you are going for the community pharmacist, for the pharmacy shop, in that case communication is much important. If the student goes for the marketing or in academia, even in industry, everywhere this communication is important. Then this communication can be imparted into the students by the personality development seminars, workshops, which the institution has to be organized. Apart from that, the language lab facility should be made available to the students. Then pharmacist and society. Now here in pharmacist and society, again, how the pharmacist can work for the society. How pharmacists can work for the society. Nowadays, what happens? The students are they are coming into the college, they are getting the degree, and they are just joining the job. But apart from that, we should must give something from to the society. What we have acquired the knowledge, that should be for society. So being a healthcare professionals, this is our prime duty, that we should be able to serve to the society. Then environment and sustainability. So how through this pharmacy profession, how one can achieve the environmental sustainability. That means what? Every time you can't say that, or you can't insist the people or society that you should control the pollution, this such type of pollution, and but this is the different part. But from our side, what we can do, like in major of the institutions are going for the tree plantation, then rainwater harvesting, like projects should be imparted by should be conducted by the institution, so that the students should get aware with the environmental sustainability. Then lifelong learning. So through all these 10 points, what the students is getting in his lifelong learning, what he is getting the planning ability, subject knowledge, problem analysis, modern tool usage. So out of this, how much the students can get. So basically the first 4 points are totally associated with the curriculum design. So remaining 5 to 11 points that are related with the curriculum, but they are much more related with the institutional inputs or extracurricular activities that has been conducted by the institution for the betterment of students. Then course outcome. Now this is what course outcome is. What we are teaching lot many subjects in pharmacy. Near about 48 to 54 subjects are taught from first year to the final year. So in these subjects, this subject is called as a course, and each course has a specific outcomes. So as I'm teaching the pharmaceutics, so why I'm teaching the pharmaceutics, what are the outcomes of that pharmaceutics when I taught them a pharmaceutics? In that case, what the students get, that should be known to the teacher, and then after the teacher is able to impart all this knowledge to the students. If I know that I am teaching the pharmaceutics, for what I am teaching, just to complete my syllabus, or as my institution is giving salary to me? No. But what, this is the different part, but what the students are getting, because these are the future national future. We are making the nation future through the students, and if the students are aware with the course outcome first the teacher should be aware with the course outcome, and he should make aware them with the course outcome. So course outcome is exhibits what skill, knowledge, and attitude amongst the students. That means what, once the course outcome is known to the students, that means the students comes to know what he has to gain. Then he will care about the teacher or what he is teaching during the process and after completion of a course. So when generally now the institutions which we are going for the accreditation, the institution has instructed you that every time when you go to the class, at that time you should tell the course outcome for today's topic, isn't it? But this is not the mechanical process that we should take the course outcome from anywhere from the internet and we put. But first we have to understand what is course outcome, what the students are getting from this, and then after you should be able to understand the students feeling, students understanding, to what extent the students could get. So in book even there are many things are given. So it is feasible for the students that all the book should grasp by the students. So specific points, specific outcome should be known to you, and that should be imparted to the students. That is what the course outcome. And course outcome means what? This course outcomes has to be correlated with the PO's, program outcome. And this program outcomes has to be correlated with the PO, and this PO correlates with the mission, and mission correlates with the vision. This is the process of all the statement which we make for the NAC accreditation. So initially you seems that on website of various NAC accredited institute that they had correlated this course outcome with the program outcome. But why they can't correlate? First you should understand what is course outcome, what is program outcome, what is PO, what is vision, mission, how they are to be drafted, how these statements are made. So on the basis of all these, before going to the accreditation, first you should know all these things. Then this is what the prerequisite for the accreditation process. So I had go through your flyer that many good speakers are there. They had already covered all the criteria, that what we should go for, what we should do with this criteria, what are the important significant parameters of each and quantitative and qualitative matrices. But I'm not dealing with that one. So I'm dealing with the process of assessment and accreditation. So this is up to this what prerequisite, what the criteria is in between, and the process. So before going for the process of accreditation, that means what, before starting with the criteria wise information collection and data management, you should be able to know the process, how it goes. So basically the process is what, online submission. Everything nowadays you can't, you need not to do anything offline. Everything is online. So online submission of institutional information for quality assessment, that is IIQA, and self study report. Then data verification. These are the broad steps. Later on we will discuss. So online submission of institutional information, that is IIQA, and self study report, that is called SSR. Then whatever data is submitted to the NAC, that is verified, that is called as the DVV by the NAC, data validation and verification. So then thereafter the students satisfaction survey by the NAC. Then after that the peer team visit and institution grading. So registration process is what, first go to the NAC website, then you should start with the HEI, that is higher education, files the registration form. The registration form comes. On that you need to apply with the institutional name, head of institutions, your recognition. Recognition means what, you are affiliated to what agencies. UGC, that is UGC means through the university, AICT, PCI, or any other. That is what the registration form, you have to do all these things. Then NAC verifies and approves your registration. So why NAC requires all this process? Because what, there are many fake institutions, fake universities are there, which are not approved by the agencies, required agencies. So for that purpose, this NAC ask you to upload all these necessary documentation, even registration of a society is to be uploaded, and thereafter NAC verifies and approves all your documents and gives you a registration, and it gives you a login credentials. So after that, the institution gets access to the higher educational institutional portal on a NAC. So then comes to the IIQA submission process. So this IIQA submission process is what? It contains basic information about the institution. That means the name of institution, name of society, whether it is run by the society, trust, charitable, or the government, non-aided, aided, everything you have to add. Then you have to add the head of institution, which type of course you are running, how much time is required, the tenure of a course. Thereafter you have to add the number of teaching faculties, male, female, associate professor, all these are category wise, then approved by the governing body, or approved by the authority means what, we are affiliated institutions. Then authority is what, authority is UG, university. That means in that case how much PCA and university. So the seats, that means recruitment seats for the institutions, they are given by the AICT and PCA, and they are get approved by the institute, by the universities. Thereafter, how much seats are filled and how much are sanctioned by the society. So that data you have to fill. Then how many emeritus professors do you have? Then PhD holders. Everything you have to submit online as a IIQA. Then after IIQA submission, IIQA verifies everything. That means what you have submitted, that is accepted by the NAC. This is not the thing. This NAC has a very well defined process of verification. They verifies whatever we have claimed. If there are any queries, then they inform to the institution about the explanation, clarification on that queries. And then all the institute has to submit the clarification response to the NAC within a stipulated time period. This is not the process that once IIQ has given me the queries, then I will take 2 or 3 months period to submit. No, you have to submit within a stipulated time period. Then if queries are not there, then directly you will get the IIQ is verified by the NAC, and it gives acceptance for your further process. Once the IIQAs get accepted, after that your work starts for what? For the collection of data, management of data, and preparation of criteria wise documentation. So this IIQA process. Now the question arises that if we are having a good institutions, we are running from since last 10 to 20 years, where I get affiliated with everyone, but what eligibility criteria has been defined by the NAC, and to check, to analyze, to assess this eligibility criteria, this NAC goes for the IIQA, and to ensure that the applicant institute fulfills statutory requirements of agencies which govern it. That means what? If a pharmacy institution is there, in that case, if it follows all the norms given by the AICT, PCI, and university. If it doesn't, then they can reject the IIQA. Then SSR submission. Now, as per the data analysis or data collected by the NAC coordinator from the each criteria coordinator, they collect everything criteria wise, all the documents, data templates are to be collected, and they have to fill these, upload the data files. So when uploading these data files, care should be taken that the data should not be false. Whatever the data we are adding, that should not be false, that should not be manipulated. Original data should be given to the NAC as per the template. Otherwise, what happens, many times we add something different in a template because we have to add only figures into the template, but supporting documents, which we are not uploading, in that case this data is get deviated. So to avoid this deviation, apply with the specific documents. Then this upload takes fees. So before when we upload and when we say submit, before submission we need to pay the fees online. Then at that time, the NAC portal will ask you about the non-applicable matrices and submit the SSR. So when at our time we are working, we had filed our NAC accreditation process under the health sciences. So in health sciences, there are certain criteria or certain matrices are there which are not applicable for the pharmacy institutions. So we go for the option. We can opt that one, and even now it is removed. Pharmacy has been removed from the health sciences. It comes in a regular stream. So there may be some data or some processes or some things that which we do not have, that has to be omitted, that can be not applicable to us. We can opt out the same. So then whatever the data we submit to the NAC, that has been verified. So this data verification and validation is done by the third party, and this third party do everything about the quantitative matrix what we have submitted. They check, for example, if I had uploaded 73 papers, that my institution has published 73 papers in various journals available. So out of that, the NAC asked what they asked me about the UGC recognized journals, then Scopus index journals, then Web of Science index journals. So what I had done just added all the 73 papers. But what the DVV process, in this DVV process, they will inform me that out of 73, only 35 papers are eligible, or you can write here only 35 papers. If you have any problem, please communicate. That means what, only 35 papers are indexed in Scopus or Web of Science. Otherwise, other papers are not of their interest, though they remains in your institutional data, but they never ever count that papers. And like that, the queries like certification by any other body, awards granted by the any other body, if they feel that that award is not satisfying, or they are not get satisfied with the award, in that case they will ask the different data regarding the certificate obtained by the institution. For example, any student, if he's got the national level certificate for any competition in extracurricular activity, in that case they can say that, they can ask that give the detailed information of the event organized, the event in which the student get the certificate. So in that case we have to communicate with all the communications with that event. That means the participation letter, then communication through the institutions regarding participation, or what they got you in response. All this documentation we have to submit, and this response, that is called as the response from the higher education institution. That means from us they require that response clarification on the DVV. So DVV is basically, it is based on supporting data given by higher education institution. That means what, then if I had submitted 73 papers, out of that they found that 35 papers are Scopus indexing, and one of my colleague comes and says that no sir, we are having another Scopus index. But what DVV doesn't says that ki another papers you are having, but what they are saying that whatever data you have supplied, that has been analyzed, and according to that 35 papers are there. So DVV identifies deviation. So they create a report, detailed report on deviations. That means what you have supplied and what they had validated and verified. So these deviations are submitted along with this DVV report, it goes through the self-study report through an online assessment mechanism. That means it validates and verifies all the quantitative matrices. So when we say that quantitative matrices means what? All the quantitative matrices has been evaluated by the NAC through DVV as a third-party evaluator. So the visit is organized for the qualitative matrices. That means whatever the write-ups we are saying or we are adding into it or whatever we have to say to the NAC, that for the verification and validation of that only the visit is organized. So if institution clears the pre-qualifier score of 30%, the student satisfaction survey will be administered and the peer team visit conducted. That means what? If in this pre-qualifier means in IIQA and in this DVV, if the institution scores more than 30%, after that the student satisfaction survey will be conducted, and after that the peer team visit is conducted. If there is any discrepancy, factual error, then the deviation report is sent to the institution seeking further clarification. That means if the institution is not able to score even 30%, in that case the NAC again rejects everything and they ask you to resubmit everything in a prescribed manner. Then student satisfaction survey. So this student satisfaction survey is most important, because what we are going for the NAC, and we are always saying that this process is a student centric. This is a educational process is student centric. We are always trying to say that the students, we are doing everything for the betterment of the students. In that case, the student survey plays a more important role, because what here the truth comes in front of the NAC team. So when we say that the student satisfaction survey, for the student satisfaction survey, first train your students. First train your students. Make aware them with the NAC process. Make aware them with the advantages of the NAC. Why the institution is going for the NAC. What benefits the students could get through this NAC. Sometimes the students, generally the third and final year students, they are not able to adapt the changes, because for NAC process we have to change many processes. So they are not going to adapt. This feels that this is no, our routine is good. Why we are asked to use the uniform only? We should be much more better in a regular or casual wears. So explain them everything. Ask them that they should get a response from the NAC that they have to submit. So for that purpose, first it is the duty of a NAC coordinator along with the criteria coordinator and each and every stakeholder of the institution that they should they should make aware the students what type of responses they will get. And for that purpose, we need the total data, the complete data of a students. That means their mobile number, particularly WhatsApp number, and their email ID, and that should be first verified by ourselves. That means when the data is collected, then try to send the mails to the students, and in response ask them to respond the mail. That means this confirms how much students are getting the proper mail, or how much mistakes are there in a mail ID. So the true data should be collected. Then this survey is initiated with 30% of the students. Then they send this activation link to the students. Student submits response using their login. So NAC monitors the survey for 10% of the total students or 100 response, which is out of which is minimum. If we are having a 400 total strength, in that case 100 response are required. If there are many students, that means if the students are more than 1000, in that case 10% response are required at least. If the response are minimum, if the students doesn't respond them properly, or they ignore this activation link given by the NAC, in that case the NAC will start the survey for remaining 70% of the students. That means all the students will get the mail from the NAC. Sorry. And this survey closes within 10 days. This is not the case that the once they started the survey and they will continue until the visit. So they have to close this student survey within 10 days only. And after 10 days, the data is computed on the basis of student survey satisfaction as well as the quantitative matrices which we have submitted already, and where we have got 30% more than 30% marks. So cumulatively they finalize the score. After that, the visit of NAC peer team will be there based on the DVV report and the student satisfaction survey. And NAC will inform the institution about following. If you pass, that means if you get the good satisfaction student satisfaction survey and more than 30% mark, the date of the peer team will be informed to you. Deferring of a peer team visit will be informed to you, and debarring the institution from the having a peer team visit if you could not get the proper response from the students as well as the proper marks in a quantitative matrices, then the institution is get barred from the having peer team visit. So this is all about the NAC team, how the NAC process works. Basically, it doesn't contain any technical data like this matrices, which type of matrice, how we should go for each type of criteria, which type of documents, and how these documents are to be managed. Because what NAC is not a small process, it is a huge this is the start of a good thing, and good thing never ends. This is an endless process. This endless process starts from the NAC, and for starting with the NAC, all these processes should be known to us. That means from where we have to start and how NAC works. That is much important. Once we get aware with this NAC team visit, NAC, how the NAC process for the accreditation, then it is much more easy for us to work on the criteria. So thank you. Here I finish with the presentation.
Thank you, sir, for this wonderful session. You covered all the points in very easy mode. All the participants kindly note that you can put your question
you, ma'am.
in chat box. Now this session is open for discussion. Yes, any question is there? Okay. Sir, I have one question. After IIQA
Yes, ma'am.
submission, in how much time we have to submit SSR?
45 days. 45 days.
In 45 days. Okay, sir. Thank you,
Yes,
sir.
yes. Because what whenever we have to go for the NAC accreditation process. So when you are going to plan, that is important, and plan accordingly. That before you go for the accreditation process. That means before filing the IIQA, you should be prepared. You should have all the documents ready with you. Otherwise, these 45 days are
Until
too
and
less
unless-
period to submit all these documents, because what the connectivity problems are there, sometimes networking problems are there, server problems are there, and many times what happens, we need to modify document the requirement of NAC. And before going into the NAC actual portal, we are not aware with the what type of uploads we need, what type of documentation we need. That's for that purpose. First, collect your all the data and then start with your IIQA.
Yes. Means it that until and unless of that SSR, we should not go for the IIQA submission.
Yes, first prepare your data according to the SSR given by the NAC, and then file your IIQA. Once you IIQA is accepted, your portal is SSR portal will be open. Then pre-institutional requirements are to be filed, and after that you have to start with the SSR.
Okay, okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Is any question is there from participant? Okay. Thank you, sir, for this discussion. Here I must say that your talk will be helpful to all of us to set the directions in accreditation process. Now, I would like to request Mr. S. Bhosle, sir, to propose vote of thanks. Please, sir.
Yes, ma'am. On the behalf of organizer, I am very much thankful to the Dr. Tekade sir for accepting our invitation and spending your valuable time with us by providing us such a nice information on a topic, roadmap for accreditation process. Sir also emphasizes on different topics regarding role of IQAC, program outcomes, course outcomes, IIQA process. Sir, your valuable guidance will be helpful for us in coming days for accreditation purpose. I am also thankful to the Raya Shikshan Samstha, YCIS Satara, for giving such a novel platform to organize e-faculty development program under Paramar scheme. I am also thankful to the principal, YCIS Satara, principal, Satara College of Pharmacy, Satara, for their support to organize such a faculty development program. I am also thankful to all organizing committee member, and finally thankful to all participants for their active participation. With due permission of respected dignitaries, here I declare that today's session is over. Thank you, sir.